Welcome, Annette, and thank you for being here. I'm really excited about this interview. So let's get started. I would first like to know about. I have had a look at your about page, at your website,
hmm
and I saw that you call yourself a modern movement coach. So
hmm
can you tell us what it is?
Sure. So a movement coach is somebody who helps you to move more, get out of pain. And I put in the modern part because a lot of the things we tell people to do to improve their movement clashes with the way that we live in a modern life. And I'm a big believer in we need to make changes that are practical so they can fit
Mhm.
into your modern life. So if I tell you, ideally you should be going barefoot everywhere, you're not going to do it because who goes barefoot in the modern life? But we are things we can do to work towards that will still give you lots of benefits without going the extreme thing, without giving up your desk job, because people have to make a living, people have to live, people have to
Yeah,
have stress in their lives. But I'd like to marry the two together.
that sounds amazing. Cool. I mean, that's exactly what we need, right?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, exactly.
And what about your journey? Because you went from you went through experiencing chronic pain yourself.
hmm
So what were your key challenges and how did you overcome them?
I suppose the key challenges was that I kept getting chronic pain. So my
Mm.
first chronic pain was low back pain. I was a desk worker, so I worked as a marketing manager in Silicon Valley and in Germany for 10 years. And I
Wow.
developed quite severe back pain. And that's when I was introduced to Pilates. I didn't know what Pilates was, I'd never heard of it, and it blew me away because I could do something that didn't cause me pain. So that was amazing.
Mhm.
I actually quit my job as a marketing manager and became a Pilates teacher. It was so fantastic for me. But my problems kept coming back. So after I got rid of chronic back pain, I then got carpal tunnel in my wrist. I got knee problems. I had to have an operation. And then I ended up having a chronic neck pain issue, which radiated down my arm. I had to carry my arm around. I was on very high meds that made no difference. And the challenge for me was constantly hitting these chronic pain issues, and I couldn't figure out why. It really,
Mm.
like, I was told I needed a neck fusion operation. I had three bulging discs in my neck. I was supposed to have an operation to fuse them to stop them moving. And I was like,
Wow.
there's no way I'm doing this. Like, there's just no way. It was a big moment for me. And because I'd got it's so many issues, it forced me to look at the bigger picture and know, well, hang on, why am I getting all these issues? I gave up my desk job, I exercise, I'm not overweight, I'm not stressed. Why? And that forced me to look at the bigger picture and realize that I was an active couch potato. And
Mm.
it's only when that hit me, I realized, well, that is me. That is me. Even though I do all the things, because I live in the modern world, I'm sitting way too much and I'm not moving enough. Even though I exercise enough, I'm not moving enough. And that forced me to look at the whole thing again and realize I need to add movement to my life. Keep doing the exercise if I like it and if I can, but it's the movement possibly that's a missing part, and it's worth checking out because if I can avoid this operation, I'll be very happy. And I was able to avoid it. I'm off all meds. I haven't had any pain since. So yeah, there were challenges, but of course every challenge has the upside of forcing you to
Yeah.
look at things a bit differently. And I'm sure without that, I would never have gone this route.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you touched now on movement and exercise. Can you tell
Yeah.
us more about the difference between the two of them?
Sure. So when I was a Pilates teacher and I was teaching like 10, 12 hours a week and I was exercising every day, I still wasn't moving. So there's a difference between the two. Exercise is usually something you wear particular clothes to do, you put on special shoes, you might have a tennis racket, you set aside a certain amount of time to do it, like I'm going to walk for 30 minutes to burn fat. And then you tick it off your list. When you're finished, you go, that's done. I'm okay for the rest of the day. Whereas movement is everything else. So you could still walk for 30 minutes moving, but you're going to the shops to buy groceries, or you're mowing the
Mm.
lawn, or you're hoovering, or you're hanging up washing, or you're sitting on the floor to read a book. These are all these tiny things that we consider inconvenient and we've kind of pushed out of our lives, which means that we're almost not moving at all. I mean, you could sit at your desk all day, have food delivered, have entertainment brought in, have
Yeah.
social interaction. never moving. Whereas in the past, you had to move to get through your day. You know, even when I started working in the computer industry, we didn't have the internet hooked up in our office. So you had to get up every 20 minutes to send a fax, to change the paper in the photocopier, to go and hand a piece of paper to your colleague. You know, I know this seems like medieval, but even though I had a desk job, I was moving every 20 minutes. Just because of these tiny, tiny things that you think make no difference, they really make a difference. So we're trying to bring those little tiny things back into your life in a way that doesn't drive you crazy, in a way that doesn't cost lots of time. And it's incredibly beneficial for your body. Even though it seems tiny, we know that standing for example, 3 minutes every hour can make a difference to your health, which is mind-blowing. And we still don't do it. But I think people don't realize, I don't think they really believe it can make a difference. I think people think they have to go to the gym for an hour, you know? And I think I'm going on and on, but I think a really good analogy for this is food. And this is perfect for you because of your area. Yeah. If you sit all day and then go to the gym at night, it's still good for you. Okay. There's no doubt that exercising is good for you, but it's a bit like eating junk food all day and then having a salad. The salad is good for you. Yeah. But it doesn't undo all the junk food. So sitting all day is like the junk food, and moving is exercise is the salad, but you need to sprinkle salad throughout your day. Even tiny minutes really makes a difference. And that way your whole nutrition, your whole movement nutrition starts to become healthier.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of thinking that it's not going to do much. So knowing that I'm going to the gym for 1 hour, I'm really gonna work on my muscles and do different type of exercises. If I just stand 1 second, what does it change? You know, it's like not seeing immediate results. This also happens with foods, right?
Yes.
So it's like if you eat bad for an entire week, then maybe you can see some difference. But if you eat bad for an entire day, the day after, you probably won't see much difference. So it's like, well, then we can do it. So it's a matter of having, we need the direct answer, the direct results. And so because we don't have it, then it's a matter of believing it, right? That's exactly what you said.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like they've known this since 1996, like the US Surgeon General came out with a statement in 1996. And these are the people who put the warning label on the smoking cigarette boxes. They were responsible for that. Yeah. And they came out in 1996 saying that excessive sitting is, it's very bad for you. So it's a bit, we're not saying it's the same as smoking. It's not as bad as smoking, but sitting for more than 4 hours does increase your risk of everything, basically, cardiovascular disease, cancer, even early death, breast cancer, not to mention all the pains and aches you have. And the thing is, you do know it yourself. You know, when you've been sitting all day and never moving, you do feel pretty crap. You do. Your body's kind of going, it would like to move now, but you ignore it and you keep on typing. But after a while, if you keep ignoring that, your body will stop you. So, something will happen. You'll have a nerve problem, you'll have a knee problem, you'll have low back pain, your pelvic floor, all these things are connected because our bodies were designed to move. And I know it's such a cliche, but if you enjoy exercise, keep doing it. Absolutely. But add movement into your day. Like when you see the stairs, don't take the lift. And I know these are tiny things, but they really, really add up because they're so tiny.
Yes. Well, there are more and more people now saying that sitting is the new smoking. So it really makes sense.
Yeah, I did a whole speech on that. I have a whole talk on that, but it's the problem with that is it's kind of alarmist and people go, that's not true, so they go, I'm not going to believe that. But I think my message is it's very easy to reduce your sitting, and people don't believe that. They think I'm in a desk job, I watch TV, I like TV, my sport is cycling, that I sit again. How is this going to reduce, But even if you still sit 10 hours a day, if you break it up, that's an improvement. So it's the sitting for long periods of time. That's the problem. There's nothing wrong with sitting. People have sat always, since people have lived, they've sat. That's not the problem. We just sit for too long. We sit in the same position. And on top of that, of course, we're stressed normally while we're sitting. So we're working, there's a certain amount of stress going on. If you're watching TV, if you're watching something thrilling, that's always a stress on your nervous system. Your social media is there, maybe giving you another hit.
Oh gosh, social media, they cause so much stress.
Right? And it's fantastic as well. I mean, we wouldn't be here without this amazing technology,
Sure.
But it's becoming aware of that. And for me, it was, oh my God, I'm a Pilates teacher. I didn't know this. Nobody taught me this. And my clients must have the same problem, and they do. Let's figure out a way to make this practical, fun, and people start feeling better, which is, people always say they start feeling better. Yeah.
And let's talk to your clients, about your clients then, because I know you work a lot with women, and often with women over 40. Is it true? Like, what kind of problem do they come to see you with?
Yeah, so I started working with kind of all ages, but the people that came to me privately were always over 40. And the women I was seeing also in my regular classes, like not the private classes, but regular classes, they all kind of the same problem. So they would come to me about some, usually pain. And when we start talking, we'd realize, oh, actually there's a pelvic floor issue as well. Oh, and actually I have a bit of bone loss as well. And then when I looked at the feet,
piling up.
Yeah, it's all piling up, but it's connected. So that's the beauty of it. So then we looked at their feet, and there was always a problem with feet. Not that they thought they had a problem with feet. They had no foot pain. But anybody who's worn a modern shoe all their life is going to have a foot problem. Men as well, not just women. But if you wear heels, it's going to make it worse. So I realized they're all connected. They're all connected. So if we work on one, we can help another. So if you work on your feet, you can help your pelvic floor. If you work on your pelvic floor, you can help your back. So even though it feels like, does that mean I have 24 exercises? No, you could start with 4 or 5 exercises. And because your body is one unit and it's all connected, you can start to feel changes in the other areas, even though it might not seem that obvious. If you work on your feet, you can help your pelvic floor, or if you work on your feet, you can help your neck.
Wow. Everything is connected, right? Our body is so wise. It's a perfect machine. So if there is a little piece that is not working, then it will affect the entire machine.
Exactly. It's a beautiful system. Like, it was designed as a system. It works really well if you leave it alone. and we keep doing things to knock it over. If we take away things often, you probably know that in nutrition as well. Somebody might come, even just to say, look, reduce your sugar or reduce your whatever thing it is, just taking something away sometimes can have a massive, massive impact.
It does, absolutely. And talking about these weird connections, because I had a look at your YouTube channel, and you have a video about calves routine for neck and back release. So one might think, okay, well, if I have pain in my neck, I'm just going to do some exercises for my neck.
Yeah.
So can you go a little bit deeper into like this connection and explain how these two parts, for example, are connected?
Okay, so that brings me to fascia or fascia, which is a whole thing, but I'll try and keep it brief because I'm passionate about this. So when I had neck pain, fascial release got me out of pain. It was the only thing that worked. I spent 18 months going to doctors, consultants. I was supposed to have the operation. I didn't want to do it. I was on medication for epilepsy that didn't work. I mean, it was awful. I went to a workshop where I lay on a soft roller, like a foam roller, and I did a bit of breathing, and I came off the roller, and I was like, holy God, I feel relief. Like, how is that possible? All I've done is breathed lying on something. Like, it just blew my mind. And obviously it was to do with fascia. So fascia is a connective tissue. It's all over your body. Think of it like a second skin, like a Spider-Man suit. It's all over your body. So it's all connected. So when the Spider-Man suit is your perfect size, you can move and everything is perfect. But if the Spider-Man suit is 2 sizes too small, imagine what that does. You can't really move. Yeah, everything is stuck, and that can cause pain. So it's all connected. So, for example, if you have a tight calf muscle and you do your 10,000 steps a day, fantastic. But your tight calf muscle is connected to your neck through your fascia, because it kind of pushes you forward very fast when you take a step. And that's like a whiplash effect on your neck. So it travels up your body through the fascia and it basically comes out your neck. And then you get that whiplash effect. So you might be doing your 10,000 steps a day, which is fantastic. But if you have very tight calves, you're kind of getting 10,000 whiplash potentially into your neck.
It sounds horrible.
Sounds awful. Sounds awful. And many of us have tight calves because we wear shoes that have a slight heel. When I say heel, I mean any heel, not 6 inches, just even a 1 inch heel changes how you stand. It tightens your fascia along the whole back line. So that it links your calf, your hamstring, your lower back, your shoulders, your neck, goes all the way down and ends here in your eyebrows, which is the facelift idea. So when you work on your fascia, sometimes you see this kind of lifting because things go back to where they're supposed to be. It's not permanent, unfortunately. It's just a temporary thing.
If you keep doing it every day, then it works, right?
Well, like face yoga, fascial yoga. Face yoga is basically fascia. You're helping hydration, you're helping lymph and all that as well, and blood flow. But you are massaging fascia, and fascia is so easy to work on. You can massage it, you can just move, or the way I do it is through soft rolling. So I use soft rollers, I use soft little toning balls, and I like that because people can do it themselves. So it's like self-massage. You don't have to pay to go to a massage therapist. If you can afford it, keep doing it. But this is an extra tool that you can do yourself, and people feel an almost instant feeling of, oh, that was really relaxing. Why do I feel like I'm melting into the floor? Like, why is that? It's your nervous system. So the fascia, working your fascia gets you out of fight or flight into rest and digest. So again, for nutrition, amazing. Anybody with digestive issues, this is an amazing thing. And even when you're lying on it for a few minutes, you might feel your tummy gurgling already. Like it's pretty instant. Your body wants to go into rest and digest. You just have to give it a chance to do that.
Yeah. And I know you're going to show us a few exercises towards the end.
Oh, yeah.
Are those exercises also for the fascia, or you want to explain like separately?
So the exercises I'm going to show, they're not exercises, I suppose. It's called constructive rest. So often in our busy world, we think rest is something that we have no time for, and it's an indulgence. So I think the word constructive in front of it sometimes helps to make people realize there's a reason we're doing this. It could save you a lot of time in the future. So, do yourself a favor. So these are just poses, basically, you get into to allow your body to rest. They're usually on the floor, so you feel supported, you feel, grounded. It can help your nervous system go from fight or flight into rest and digest. So they're not specifically for fascia. No, the reason I brought these in for our talk is so many people with pain, so many people in the modern world are in the fight or flight state, and we're trying to get back to the rest and digest, which can help for so many issues, whether it's people coming to you with digestion issues or people coming to me with pain. Using some of these positions will allow you to take a mini break. And I would say 5 minutes minimum. If you can do 15, fantastic. But try and do 5. And I'll show you, I think, 3 or 4 different options. They all involve getting to the floor. So that's something you do have to do. But the advantage of being on the floor is that you do feel held. People feel very safe on the floor. And if you have neck issues or pain, often lying on the floor can be very comfortable. You feel held, and you have an ability for your nervous system to actually relax when you're in that position.
Okay. So before we talk about constructive rest, let's talk about, because I saw another video of yours. It's called Dechair Your Body. Excuse me. So how does it work? That kind of exercises, they are connected with the fascia, right?
Yes, exactly. So dechair your body. The idea of that is when you're sitting in a chair, you're usually slouching. Yeah, you usually end up at some point, you end up slouching. So you end up sitting on your tailbone rather than your sitting bones. Okay, now there's nothing wrong with sitting on your tailbone, except we do it for 8 hours a day. That's not very good. But sitting like that in general is not bad, but we were trying to get out of that. So often we'll say, okay, well then stand up, fine. But when you stand up, you're often still slouching. Even though you're standing, your tailbone is still tucked under. So I don't know if I can show that to you, maybe might be better. So if you sit for 8 hours a day or whatever, even when you're standing, you might be a bit like this. Okay, so you are standing, which is great, but you're kind of tucked out. I'm exaggerating, but you're kind of tucked under. Often we're stuck like this because these muscles are tight. And even though you're standing, they haven't actually lengthened. So that's what I mean by Dechair. When you're sitting in a chair for a long time, you often end up kind of like this. And you can walk 10,000 steps, but you're still kind of tucked under. So we're trying to get yourself out of that. So the exercise in the video were about like, it's basically stretching your hamstrings, stretching your back line, which is your hamstrings, and your calves, which is your fascia. Because if this is tight, think about your Spider-Man suit. If that Spider-Man suit is really tight at the back, it's going to pull you under. Yeah. So the exercises lengthen that. So then you have a chance of getting back to neutral, not being tucked under all the time. So, and that sitting posture it has a knock-on effect on your pelvic floor. It's particularly bad for your pelvic floor, which is why I wrote another article called Why Sitting is Worse for Women, because that tucked under thing pushes the sacrum in your pelvis slightly forward. It shortens your pelvic floor muscles, and it means that you're more likely to leak if you sneeze or cough. So that's the unusual connection there between pelvic floor and your feet and your legs. Working on hamstring stretches and calf muscle stretching can help your pelvic floor because it gets you out of that slouchy position and back into neutral.
Okay.
I've gone off point there, but I think I answered your question.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there are so many connections that I want to talk about. Give us some exercises, like something practical. So, for example, if we want to, what we were talking about, your pelvis, what can we do? Like 1 or 2 exercises that we can just do while standing, which is like, it's not going to take too much time. It's just, what can we do while we are working?
Yeah. So the number one thing always is to sit less. Like that's the number one thing. If you can reduce your sitting time, I say that to everybody, it doesn't matter what your issue is, digestion, bone loss, pelvic floor, neck pain, sit less. I mean, monitor how much you're sitting first. If you have a standing job, talk to me. There's another issue with that. But if generally we need to sit less and sit for shorter periods. That's the number one thing. The way to build in the exercises is to build them into your life. So I wrote a blog on, I think, 10 small changes for big impact. It's on my website in the blog. And they're tiny things that you can change in your daily life so you don't have to think about, I need to do an exercise. I don't like doing that. I like to build things into my day so I don't have to worry about it. So one of them, for example, is if you're checking your texts, on your phone, rather than standing and doing this, we're all guilty of that. You can lean forward on your kitchen counter. Say this is your kitchen counter. Oops, you can't really see it there. Yeah. So just lean on your kitchen counter and check your texts that way. So you're not doing this. You're basically doing a hamstring stretch, but you're checking your texts. Like I always check my texts now in the kitchen this way. It's just a habit now that I do it at the same time as a hamstring stretch. But I don't think of it as like a hamstring stretch. This is just me checking my texts, but I'm leaning on something. Yeah.
So you're keeping your legs straight?
Yes, my legs are straight, if possible. Okay. If you can straighten your leg, you can bend them. You're still leaning forward, but ideally you want your legs straight. Yes, you do. Yeah. And you might be up here. Like you don't have to go low. You don't have to do a mad thing. You could be up here on your kitchen counter. Yeah. Yeah. Going to your kitchen sink. This is my favorite stretch. So my hands are on my kitchen sink now. I'm going to push it out of the picture here. And I'm going to lean back from the kitchen sink. So imagine you're hanging out of the kitchen sink. My legs are still straight, but you can bend them. You can bend your knees. It doesn't matter. And you stretch one leg from one side to the other. That's a fascial stretch. That's a huge fascial stretch. So hanging onto your sink, leaning out of it, it just feels heavenly. You're like, you're hanging, but you're supported. It's going to feel amazing for your arms, but it stretches your whole back line. That's a really easy one to do. And the other one would be when you're brushing your teeth. I can't get far enough away here. I don't want to lose my headphones, but let me take my headphones off. Hopefully you can still hear me.
Sure, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So if you're, let me see, I've got a book here. Okay, so say you're brushing your teeth. You've got your book in front of the sink, you've got your feet on the book, you're brushing your teeth. Right? You're doing a calf stretch. Okay.
Oh.
I do that all the time now when I'm brushing my teeth. So I'll put these back in. That's one of the easiest ones. And normally people brush their teeth for about 2 minutes. So you're stretching your calves for about 2 minutes without thinking about it. I don't use a book anymore. I use something plastic because I don't want the water landing on my book. But I put the plastic, whatever it is, in front of all my sinks. So every time I wash my hands during the day, I'm doing a calf stretch. I don't even think about it. In fact, when the plastic thing is not there, I kind of go looking for it because it just feels weird to stand at a sink now and not be doing a calf stretch. If you can't put both feet on the thing because it's too tight, just do one foot and then do the other foot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a huge one. Calf stretching is, people underestimate, I think, how tight their calves are because they've worn regular shoes all their lives. And it has a huge effect, obviously, on everything above your waist and everything below your waist because it's all connected. I know it sounds, I'm repeating myself, but that's the way it is. And that's the beauty of this. You know, you can look at it 2 ways. You can say, oh my God, everything is connected. It's impossible to even start. Where do I start? But the beauty is it is all connected. And that's it. So anything you do will help other parts. That's the beauty of it. Yeah.
And so that piece of plastic that you were mentioning now for the calves, how thick should it be?
So it depends how tight your calves are. So if your calves are very tight, you can start with something smaller. So you could get a towel and just roll it up. Like a hand towel, roll it up. So it's maybe an inch. See how you get on with that. And then you can always make it higher. Do I have the plastic? Well, if you have a yoga blocks are a bit high. I think they're a bit too high. But I think start with a hand towel rolled up or a book that you feel comfortable with height-wise. Maybe an inch I would start with. And very quickly you should feel like, okay, well now maybe an inch and a half. And, you know, you'll know yourself. You don't want to be falling backwards. You don't want that feeling. You do want to be able to stand and brush your teeth. But that's a tiny change. And if you think about how many times you use your sink during the day, that's a lot of calf stretching. And you're standing there anyway. So that's a really good one.
And how important it is also, I mean, I guess at a certain point it can become something automatic. But at the beginning, maybe we just need to focus on it. It's like, okay, I'm going to brush my teeth now, but at the same time, I'm also going to stretch my calves. So being also aware of that, like having that, they call it like the muscle mind connection, is it also important?
Well, I suppose it's important in the beginning when you're trying to get the height right. So I don't want you on a really high one and going, you know, no pain, no gain. That doesn't work. Fascia doesn't work like that. Fascia wants to be, basically, all stretching is to do with your nervous system. So if your nervous system doesn't feel safe, it's not going to let go. In fact, you can make things tighter, right? So it's really important that when you start, you choose a level that, oh yeah, I feel a little bit of a stretch, but this is doable. I can still brush my teeth. I'm not like, you know, I'm able to do this and do the stretch. And then little by little, you'll be able to add in a little bit more. So yeah, it's not like you have to think about, I mean, I can go into a lot of detail, but I don't want to. I think what makes it as easy as possible, any kind of calf stretch is going to help if you work within the realm of, I'm not overdoing it. This is doable. And then next week I can make it a little bit higher if it feels okay. And if it doesn't feel okay, I go back to the other level. And eventually I know that my body will adapt because it's safe. It feels safe to do this.
Right. Okay. Good. Thank you. Okay, I want to actually be more, since most people listening, they will be women. The pelvic floor issue can be problematic, especially for women in the 40s, going through perimenopause. So can you give us a couple of advice or exercises, whatever, movements?
So absolutely. So the number one thing is check your sitting. How much do you sit? Excessive sitting is really bad for the pelvic floor. If you have a desk job, that doesn't mean you have to give it up, but you do need to stand up more often. So the ideal thing is every 20 minutes, but not everybody can do 20 minutes. So don't worry about that. Start with standing up every hour. And that just means getting up out of your chair, walking around, getting a glass of water, going to whatever it is. You don't have to do exercises. If you want to stretch, fantastic. But just get up out of your chair and move away every hour. That's number one thing for your pelvic floor. Calf stretching, really important for your pelvic floor. Just what I showed you there with the book at your sink. Bring that in, put them in front of every sink in your house so that 10 times a day you're doing your calf stretching. That's huge. Thirdly, stop wearing shoes in the house. I don't know if you wear shoes. In Ireland, it's quite normal to wear your shoes in the house. I don't do it because my mum is German, so we grew up without shoes in the house. So for me, it's weird to wear shoes in the house. But for some people, it's very normal. Try not to wear shoes in the house. I want you getting towards barefoot. That doesn't mean you can't wear socks. I just mean out of your shoe so that you start lengthening your calf when you're walking around, and the whole back chain of your fascia will start lengthening as well. That's really important. If you're cold, obviously wear socks. It's not about pain at all. If you've got wooden floors or tiles, then you need to wear socks with the anti-skid, something like a sticky sock, because I don't want you slipping around the place, because then your toes will start gripping more and that'll make things worse. It could do. So, try not to wear shoes at home. And then hamstring stretch, which is the leaning forward when you're checking your text, do your hamstring stretch, leaning forward from the hips like I just showed you. That will stretch your hamstrings, because all those things do is get you out of that chair slouch position into a vertical. And then the muscles in your pelvic floor can start lengthening, which is what we want. We have this idea that tight pelvic floor muscles are good. It's not good. Tight is not good. Tight is weak. Like that's from the sex industry, the idea of tight. That's not good. So we need to let that away. We think if we're sneezing, it's because we need to tighten our pelvic floors. It's often the opposite case. So the Kegel exercises that you're told to do, which is, contracting and relaxing, they are fantastic for the initial stage when you're trying to figure out, what are my pelvic floor muscles? I'm not sure what they are. Okay, which is fair enough. You go to the toilet, you start peeing. Stop peeing, that's your pelvic floor muscles. Then let it go. Do not get into a habit of doing that every time you go to the toilet. That's terrible. That's just to see, what are my pelvic floor muscles? Okay, once I've realized what they are, you can try Kegels. For many women, they don't work. But if they work for you, fine. But for many women, they don't work because actually our pelvic floor muscles are too tight, too short, too shortened. We need to lengthen them, which is the opposite of many of what us think. Because our muscles are shorter because we're in a slouch position. When we come back to normal position, the muscles start to lengthen and then they can start building their strength. So I hope that makes sense. I think I went too far in that one, but
no, it makes sense.
It's all connected. It's all connected. I will give you the same exercises for your neck, the same exercises for your hip, because we all live the same way, unfortunately. Wearing shoes, sitting too much, not moving, too much stress, we have the same problem. And even though it might come up as pelvic floor for one person and neck problem for somebody else, the underlying problem is we're not moving enough. We might be exercising like crazy, but we're not moving. We're sitting too much. We're sitting the same way, and there's a lot of stress in our lives. And stress is a big thing on pelvic floor as well. And particularly women in their 40s have a lot of stress. So
yes,
yeah. Which brings me to the constructive rest, which is why we were talking.
Yes.
That might be a good idea for people. Yeah.
Before we go there, I have two questions now related to what we just talked about. The first one is sleep. So you say just go barefoot at home. Don't use even slippers. My feet hurt.
No, you can use slippers. Absolutely.
Okay.
If your feet hurt, absolutely wear slippers. So I'm wearing yoga socks at the moment, so we can see these, these things.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's anti-skid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't go from where I was to there overnight. I did wear slippers in between, and I was comfortable doing that. So yeah, you don't want to be painful at all. So if you go straight from shoes to no shoes and it's painful, then you're not ready for that stage yet. You need to find a transition stage. It could be a slipper. It could be a smaller heel. Fantastic. It could be the same height heel, but a more flexible sole. That's also an improvement. You're just heading towards more and more movement, little by little, without pain. That's really important. Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay. And what about standing desk?
Standing desk, fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a standing desk. I just use some furniture I have to stand up. My husband has a standing desk. He really likes it. They're great. I want you standing more, which is fantastic. But the goal is not to stand all day. I'm going to say that again. The goal is not to stand all day. And people tend to go from one extreme to the other, okay? Because they want to get it done. I get it. But standing all day is sedentary. It's the same as sitting all day. I mean, you burn slightly more calories and it's different to sitting, yes, but it's still. You're still stuck in a static position. So you still need to move out of that position. It could be going for a walk, getting a glass of water. It could be sitting down for a break. People who stand all day need to take sitting breaks. It's not great to stand all day. We know that from the Industrial Revolution, when the loom workers were standing all day and keeling over and having back problems and, all the problems that they had, standing all day is not great. Your body wants to move differently frequently. That is the key.
Yeah.
That is the key. So changing how you sit, going to a yoga position, sometimes standing up, sitting on the floor. I love the floor. So I'm a big fan of, if you can get to the floor, get down there. I have my breakfast and my lunch sitting on the floor. I have a small Japanese table that I made. Not Japanese. It looks like a Japanese table. It's an IKEA table, €6. I cut the legs off. That's where I have breakfast. That's where I have lunch.
Smart.
Smart, yeah. But I don't even think about it anymore. That's where I have my breakfast and my lunch. I sit on the floor. I have to get down. I have to get up. And if I hadn't done that I started this about 8 years ago. If I hadn't done that in the last 8 years, I think I would have problems now getting down and getting up, just because I wouldn't be doing it. You see people in Japan well into their 90s sitting on the floor and getting up again. They don't go to the gym. They don't exercise for that part. It's just in their life. It's just in their life. Yeah.
So integrated.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, let's talk now about constructive rest.
Okay, so constructive rest is one of the things that really helped me with my pain issue that I was going through, but it can help, as I said, with everything, because stress impacts everything. Many of us are even unaware of how much stress is in our lives. And the idea of taking rest is, if that already freaks you out, you need rest. It's the opposite. There's a saying that, everybody should meditate 20 minutes a day unless you're really busy, and then you should meditate an hour a day. The idea, right? So it's a kind of like that, but I want to make it easier for you. So I'm thinking about 5-minute rest periods. I'm challenging you to find where are 5-minute pockets in your day where you could take constructive rest. Just 5 minutes. If you can do 15, fantastic. But I'm just saying, look, the first challenge is to look, where could you put 5 minutes in? And when you find those 5 minutes, it doesn't have to be every day. Don't beat yourself up if you don't do it every day. Just go, okay, well, I'll do it the next day. Be kind to yourself. But there's 5 minutes of just rest. You can think about whatever you want. I'm not saying you have to meditate perfectly. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, get into this position for 5 minutes. See how you feel afterwards. It's an experiment. This is an exploration. And most people feel fantastic. So I was going to give a few different options for that.
Okay. So do you want to show us some exercises?
Sure. Yeah. So there's basically 3 options. They're all on the floor. I'm going to take off these headphones and hopefully I'll shout so you can hear me.
Okay.
Okay, let me change the angle. Okay. So we want to get down to the floor. That's the main thing. Okay. So on the floor, I'm going to use a book, but a pillow is better. Okay. But when you're on the floor, have a pillow behind your head. And that's important. Okay. Because for most of us, if you take the pillow away, your chin pokes up to the ceiling. That's not good for your back. So get a pillow, small pillow, and put it behind your head so your chin can relax parallel to the floor. Okay? Knees are bent. That's it. That's position number 1. Constructive rest. You can close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open. I don't care. But you're relaxed here 5 minutes. Okay? That's position number 1. Position 2 is where you grab your chair or sofa and you put your feet up on the sofa or the chair. If you want, you can bring your knees 90 degrees, but it doesn't matter. Your legs are in the air, you're resting on your back, pillow behind your head. That's it. And then number 3 is get rid of the pillow. On your back again, with a pillow under your bottom. So push it under your bottom. It's not on your tail, not on your spine. Okay? And you're resting. I'm not neutral here. I do not want your ribs poking up. I want your ribs relaxing. So it's like a slouch, but I'm letting you slouch here. That's one option. And much nicer than that is if you get something soft, like a pillow, and do the same thing.
So the pillow, you don't have to put it on your back. So your back is not on the pillow, but it's more just your glutes, right?
Exactly. So the pillow or the block is on your bottom, and you're allowing yourself to slouch on purpose in this position for your nervous system to relax. I kept the knees bent for a reason. A lot of people, when they lie on their back, have back pain with their legs straight. So I want the knees bent, not just for that. Even if you don't have back pain, I want you to bend the knees on purpose, because we're trying to work on a muscle called the psoas, which is has a huge emotional component. And when the knees are bent like that, it gets a chance to let go. And that psoas muscle is one of the reasons why when we stand up, we're still tucked under. So it's all connected. It's all connected. Not only will it help your nervous system and how you feel, it will eventually help your pelvis, to let go when you're standing. When you want it to let go, you want it to be back to neutral. And that helps everything else. So lying on the floor with your knees bent, lying on the floor with your legs up on the chair, or lying on your floor with a pillow under your bottom. All of those help to relax the nervous system. You're in a kind of a slight inversion position, so it also helps calm your brain. So usually people feel amazing afterwards. So just give it 5 minutes. I'd love to seriously know how people feel after 5 minutes, if they feel better, worse. I would love feedback.
And so do you recommend to do the 3 positions in those 5 minutes, or we can just pick up one?
Just choose one. Just choose one.
Okay,
you can change every day. You could different one every day. You don't have to do 3 in a row. No. Keep this simple. Choose one that you like. Do that one. You can try a different one tomorrow. It doesn't matter. But I'm just giving you 3 options depending on what works best for you. What really lets you let go, Yeah.
And what time of the day should we do? Because my guess is doesn't matter.
I'm just saying whatever works for you, because we're living in the modern world. So I'm like, what works for you? Yeah. Some people love to start their morning that way. Other people, for me, I love lunchtime, because I feel like that's when the stress starts to, I wake up in the morning, I feel fine. By lunchtime, I might be a bit stressed. Now is a good time to take a break for me. But for other people, maybe it's before they go to bed. Maybe that helps them relax and sleep. Experiment with it. What works for you? Everybody's different. So I'm not going to say it has to be this way. What I would say is try 5 minutes and try as often as you can without another thing on your to-do list, but to see what's possible.
Okay. So I would think, for me, we work most before bed. And now I have a question, because I like to stack my habits. So if I'm doing something, I like to do something else at the same time. While I'm doing that, can I also be reading?
No.
Okay, so it needs to be just that. I can't stack any. I can't text. I can talk to my husband. Just have a chat with someone or not.
You can do it, but you won't get the whole benefit. Your muscle is still in a really good position to let go of your psoas, so that's possible. But if you get a text and it's kind of, bad news, or even exciting, it might stimulate the psoas. So I would say just try 5 minutes of not doing something. And 5 minutes might seem very long in the beginning, so try 3 minutes. But I would say no reading. Literally, this is recharging. This is like when you get your iPod and you plug it in. You use your 3 minutes to recharge. Can you even do 3 minutes? If you can't do 3 minutes, that's interesting, right? You can have music on. I like music. Music really helps me to go from one state to another. So, or put a candle on, whatever helps you, but you don't need that. So even just getting on the floor 5 minutes, see what it feels like.
Okay, good. Well,
It's your homework.
I want to do a challenge and
Okay.
see like if I do that for 30 days and see the difference. I'm lucky because I don't live a stressful life.
Okay.
Somehow I've built a life that has very little stress
Good.
and I've learned how to manage it. So
Fantastic.
but yeah, I definitely want to try to do like for 30 days in a row and see if I can see any difference.
Okay.
Okay, this is amazing. It's really exciting. Definitely want to try the calf exercises for the
Yes.
pelvic floor and things, the
Yes.
stretching.
Yeah.
Want to create the habits and see. Maybe I can create a video. Like
Yeah.
in the
Well, it's that.
challenge, I can also add
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
That's a great one to
Okay.
stack into your life. Like that's just so easy. Yeah. I don't
Yes.
have the plastic thing with me, but I'll send you a photo and you can include it in maybe, the thing that I use, which is
Yeah.
basically a foam roller that you can buy for €15, like the regular hard ones, and you cut
Mhm.
it up. So you cut it up into
Oh,
six
okay.
pieces. That's what I use. So it's a perfect shape. It doesn't matter if it gets dirty or wet. So I'll send a photo of that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Annette, where can people find you and how can they work with you? I know that you have videos on demand, you have self-paced courses, you do one-on-one coaching, and I think you have recently launched also a new program.
That's right. So I have lots of ways to work with me. So I do weekly classes online. I have a library of classes. I do private coaching. I do small group coaching. That's my brand new thing. So it's
Mhm.
less than 10 people. It's obviously cheaper than private coaching. So it's a small group option. Depending on your needs, that might be an option for you. But everything is on my website, which is my name, AnnetteCashel.com. I'm very active on Instagram. If you like Instagram, I like Instagram for the reason that you can see what I do. So some of the things I say, people find a bit weird, like having a squatty potty at your toilet or stretching your calves at the sink or, having breakfast on the floor. So I find that the Instagram thing of photos helps people to realize, oh, that's what you mean. Oh, okay, that's simple. I'll try that.
Mm.
So yeah, Instagram is a good one. But my website, yeah, AnnetteCashel.com is probably the easiest place.
Okay, so they can just get in contact with you and then have a chat, see what works best, and you
Yeah,
just recommend.
yeah,
Sounds good.
exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Annette. I hope
No
this is going
worries.
to be very useful for many women, especially in the 40s. And yeah, I will definitely try to relax even more thanks to your exercises. So thank you again.
Not at all, Claudia. And thank you for the wonderful questions. They're really, really, they're really, really good. I really enjoyed it. And I hope your listeners learned a lot today.